Hello, wonderful, beautiful people. How are you doing today? If you're joining on the YouTube and you can see me, thank you for joining. If you're not and you're on Spotify, thank you also for joining and thank you for listening. But if you are on the YouTube, might as well subscribe already, right? Follow, like, share, subscribe. I feel like a broken record, but it's because I'm starting this new podcasting, social media-ish journey. But the reason why I started podcasting a year ago, it's been 22 episodes now, is because I always have a lot to say, but for a long time never felt like I had the space to say it or people care to listen to. So I was just like, all right, I'll keep it all inside my head. But the beautiful thing about the way, in my opinion, and this is just because I think we should talk about this as a society, but the beautiful thing about the way social media is trending or going toward is that now it's giving people more creative freedom to market and be themselves, but in a way that's going to be more authentic, I hope, or at least more productive into what their messages, or if they are building their own brand, if they're an entrepreneur like myself. I'm a personal trainer, I am an artist, I am an educator, I'm a tutor, I'm an adjunct instructor as well, but like I have all these different hats. And you don't have to wear them on social media. You can have a job and a life outside of social media, but social media is a great platform in my opinion. So that's the reason why behind this podcast is also though because I have a very open mind kind of like style in my life. So I love to learn from other people. And that's why this year, this podcast is going to be not just me talking, but it's going to be me talking to other wonderful people, interviewing them, asking them questions so that I can share their platforms, their voices, their experiences, their knowledge, and just like have a good time because I'm a big fan of podcasts. I listen to so many. And I actually got into a better habit recently, which is going to tie into today's episode all about self-care. But morning routines in the past, sometimes when I was eating my breakfast or just cleaning the kitchen or whatever, I would turn on the TV and watch maybe a comfort show or movie like Friends or something. And it's not like it was draining me, but it wasn't making me feel more alive. It wasn't making me feel more awake. Sometimes it would, but most of the time I just felt like, all right, it's like, Groundhog's Day, gonna do this again. This is my morning routine. But now my mentor and coach and friend, Katie, she's teaching me all about the brilliance behind morning routines. And I've been sleeping on it for a long time, no pun intended. But in my morning routine now, when I'm making breakfast or whatever, I'll turn on a podcast and I feel less stressed and more energized because I feel like it's just my ears listening. So my eyes can do other things. My hands can do other things. When it's TV, your eyes and your ears are locked in, or you get a little bit distracted and it kind of makes you a little bit more agitated. But with a podcast or music, it's just in your brain, just helping you flow, creating that space. And I'm a big believer of romanticizing your morning. So coffee or tea or beverage of choice, and then having some music or podcast, and then adding some candles or incense or something to kind of like make you feel more alive. That makes me feel like so much more productive throughout the day. I find my rhythm. I'm more likely to stay organized and make sure my house is clean, take care of business. And then when I need to lock in on a project or a task, then I can lock in because the space around me is, in essence, beautiful. And that sounds so trivial, but it actually makes so much sense. When you have ADHD as well, you can get easily task oriented on a different task. So you're actually task disoriented, which happens to me too. But a great way to kind of come back to my original task at hand or say, oh, what was I doing? Is by having a clean, nice environment. So in your free time, when you're feeling motivated, because that doesn't always happen if you have ADHD or a mental health condition, but when you are in that rhythm of motivation, really utilize that period. Organize your pantry, organize your kitchen, organize your house. That is a part of self-care. So speaking of, the reason why today I wanted to discuss self-care is because working with clients, working with people who have busy schedules like myself, it can become almost frivolous to have a self-care routine or to add that into your week. But it is so vitally important. You can't just take care of the world without taking care of yourself. And I'll say that one more time. You cannot take care of other people and the world when you neglect yourself. So I'm going to start off of there today because I've needed to hear this so many times. If you don't know me, man, I right now I'm wearing four hats. I'm ending my academic advising job soon. I'm starting my new role as a full-time online and in-person coach and trainer. I'm also an adjunct instructor. I make art. I I tutor. I do all the things, and then I also do social media podcasts on the side, and I'm doing my certifications on the side too. So when you look at me or anyone else who has a podcast or social media, please, this is the first thing. Don't judge them. Know that they're doing this for themselves because they probably enjoy it or because they have been able to work really hard on so many other goals. That's the key word, and reach their goals. So they start something else because I could not have been here until I reached my previous goal, which was getting my second master's degree. And that process took 2 years. It did not happen. I mean, we're talking like I would go to my 9 to 5 jobs, y'all. And then after my 9 to 5, maybe a quick workout and then homework for 3 hours and then bed by 11, 12, whatever time until I got the freaking stuff done. Was that great for my mental health? No. And that's not always accurate in life. You're going to be in stages of your life where things are going to be out of balance, and that's okay. But please listen to me. This is coming from experience. 7 years in a professional 9 to 5, 7 years of trying to understand how I'm going to fit in this world, how I'm going to work on my mental health, my physical health, and still be authentic and still be happy because it's really hard to do that. I feel like in today's society, there's a lot of pressure. And financially speaking, it's harder and harder to climb corporate ladders. And now people are definitely scared of AI, which I understand because it can be scary. But beyond all of that, let's come back to the center of everything, which is when is the last time you really took care of yourself? Maybe you're a parent, maybe you're not, but maybe you're working really long hours at your job. When's the last time you spent some time with yourself or a loved one or a friend or doing something that you truly enjoy? Maybe you love golfing. I used to play golf, so I'm just using that as an example. And when's the last time you've been golfing or just to a driving range or to like Top Golf or putt putt? You know, there's variations of something that you love. And I'm staring right at my drum set right now because it's like My Guitar Gently Weeps, an amazing Beatles song. It's just staring at me. I haven't played my drum set in forever. And that's something that I love. That's a great activity for self-care and fun and just jamming out. And music is creativity and it's just like emotional and physical. So when's the last time I've done something like that? It's been a minute and I'm going to get there. But today's episode is a reminder for you to take time for yourself. Because it is more important now with all the things that we have with the AI. And I'm not anti-AI. I feel like I should preface with that. I'm pro AI. I'm just pro people first, and AI hopefully helping people in our lives and enhancing our abilities and filling in the missing gaps and giving us more opportunities or more structure, more knowledge that we can utilize to help ourselves and the world and all that jazz. So anyway, but why is self-care so hard? I've really taken time to write this down and think about it. I think it's because to some element or essence, we feel guilty, right? We feel like, especially if we're taking care, and I have a dog now, so even though I don't have an actual literal human baby, I have a dog. A pet is still something you have to take care of. It still needs water and food and walks and sunlight and love and attention and all the things, right? So whether you are a single person or you have a significant other or spouse, family, dog, pets, house, whatever, it can be so hard to make time for yourselves, especially when you're working a full-time job. It's true that we all have, I kind of love and hate this. We all have 24 hours a day. I'm going to do a double-edged sword here, but not everybody's 24 hours is going to look the same. And I don't have kids, so right now my 24 hours is going to look completely different than someone who has kids that has to take care of them or take them to practice for like football or soccer or dance or drop them off at school and pick them up and pack their lunches and just make sure that they're happy and doing their own thing because it's a job. Daycare is a job. Like being a parent is a job. All right, let's not forget that. I love that. You know, people are like, well, you don't have the same 24 hours as me. And then people are like, well, I do. And I do have kids and blah, blah, blah. Well, more than likely, they have just figured out a rhythm, but it probably took them time. I mean, when you become a parent, I can't imagine. I'm just going to use myself as an example. When I became a dog parent, I had a lot of experience. I grew up with dogs, but I didn't know how to build a routine, didn't know how the dog's personality was going to mix with mine. There were a lot of unknown factors, right? So I had to kind of build a plan and a routine and go with the flow and learn that my own personal routine was a little going to be off. And because this dog needed more attention and it took some time away from my job and maybe from other things and obligations and working out, but I knew that that was a season of life and that I was going to eventually work my way out of it. And I did. But having a puppy, like a little 3-month-old puppy, until they're like probably 9 months old, that it was really challenging. Like for that 6 months, things were out of whack and I was just, I was surviving, not thriving. It's going to take time. And I still had a plan though, and I was still working out. I was still trying to make myself a priority, but it took time. And I also had to stick to a routine in the gym, in my household, figuring out my new normal, dog walks, spending that time. But I had to sit down in the discomfort. And that's where a lot of people struggle because they don't want to spend extra time doing things that are uncomfortable because they're like, well, I already have so little time. Why am I going to take the time to be uncomfortable? And that's how a lot of people view working out. And that's where you're going to sabotage yourself in the long run because your body is just going to be your body. It's a vessel, but it's a vessel of your dedication. Okay. So I think that everybody deserves to feel and look their best. And a lot of the missing components that I'm experiencing as a coach and that I've experienced too in the past as an athlete is that coming up with a plan that's going to work around your schedule and a routine that's going to be something that you can follow at least 80% of the time, that is the most important part. So if you are a new parent, let's just say you had a baby a few months ago and you're going back to work and you're like, how am I going to do all the things? It's hard. Sit down in the discomfort, really think about it, maybe meditate or pray on it, talk to your significant other or your friends or family, write down pros and cons of your ideas, maybe even put that into ChatGPT or like an AI, and then really come up with a solution. Come up with a time management plan. If you only have 30 minutes a day to work out, you better be working out for those 30 minutes. Make it happen. If you're tired, ask yourself, when can you get more rest? When can you relax more? When can you take care of yourself? That is so not selfish, man. I hear this mostly from mothers of people that actually have human children. I'm not saying I don't hear this from people that have pets and are pet parents, but it's not as much burnout because at the same time, a dog can also usually be by themselves and doesn't need to be watched, or a cat. Like, I don't know about cats. I've never really had cats, but I can imagine it's quite the same. So now how do we fix this dilemma? Again, besides just having a plan, it's following the plan that becomes a routine, okay? And then that routine will help you break away from the original plan. So again, a routine is a plan in action, okay? A plan is one thing, but what can you follow? That becomes the routine. So some things that I'm going to remind you is, this whole premise is so important, not just for your physical health, but your mental health too. I'm emotional, mental, physical, spiritual, all the healths, like all in one. Like I think taking time for yourself is so not selfish, man. So please listen to the next part of this. It's literally how you put your plan into action so it becomes a routine. The first step is going to bed, all right, and waking up at the same time, especially on the weekends. I really screwed myself, and I can't, say this anyway. I messed my whole routine up and screwed myself when I was in college, the first and the second time for my master's degrees, because I most of the time would just go to bed super late and then I'd wake up super tired and then it would be like a vicious cycle. And then on the weekends I would stay up again super late, even though I didn't have to stay up late. And again, I couldn't sleep until like 12 or 1 a.m. And then I kept sleeping until 9 or 10 a.m. And then my morning was kind of like lethargic and I felt defeated. And then that set the whole tone of my weekend off incorrectly. And then I would just be a big blob and then had to do this whole thing again on Monday. So if I could go back to my former self, I would say, what are you doing? Stop staying up so dang late. Go to bed at 11. All the other work can wait till tomorrow, as long as I'm getting my homework or whatever projects done on time. I didn't do that. I was bad and whatever. I mean, it's water under the bridge. It's been almost 2 years. But if you are a college student and you're struggling with time management, sleep is so important. If you are a new mom or new parent and struggling, I know it can be hard, but try to follow a routine for your sleep schedule as much as possible and try with your significant other if you have one, or if you're, single, if you have a family member that can help you with your sleep routine or someone you can get help with. That is so important. If you can afford care, it can be really, really important for your mental health. If not, try to come up with a routine, see what works, and maybe even get some advice from professionals, especially for new moms. My heart goes out to new moms because I've heard so much from friends and family. Not to say that I don't want kids one day, but this is beautiful knowledge to have because it's not discussed enough. And I also think that we glamorize having a baby without knowing what it's going to do to your physical and mental health. So that's what I'm going to educate myself on. I'm going to interview some moms eventually, share that with you because everybody's journey is different. And I just want you to know that if you're a new mom or not a new mom, but just a mom in general, you are so beautiful. I'm so proud of you. If no one has told you today or in a while, you are amazing for just existing. And that is always enough, more than enough. So again, sleep. Do the best you can. My other advice on sleep, though, is have a good environment. Make sure your room is cool. Try to change your sheets every week or every other week. Pillowcases at least every week, in my opinion. Make sure, the AC's turned down an hour before bed. Maybe yoga, meditate, not being on your computer or your phone, or at least having blue light blocking glasses or something to help with that, blue light. So it brings down your, brainwaves so that you can produce more melatonin and relax and stuff at night. Obviously melatonin, and looking into other supplements like magnesium. There's so many sleep supplements out there. Do your own research. If you take a medication, consult your doctor, right? But I will say having a sleep routine is so important. And if I don't have a sleep routine, it throws me off the next day. So it's very important. Also, speaking of the sleep routine, carving at least 1 hour a day for yourself. Can be in the morning, in the middle of the day, or before bed, but that 1 hour a day doesn't have to be working out, right? It could be journaling, it could be drawing, it could be going on Pinterest, it could be cooking or doing a recipe, or just reading a book, or just sitting there and breathing, or gardening, or who knows what, enjoying conversation with a family member or friend, someone you haven't spoken to in a while. Just do something that makes you happy, that doesn't drain you, but fills your cup so that you feel better that day. And sometimes that just might be going on a walk or reading a book or listening to a song, working out. If you have a therapist and that time is for you to really dial your mental health and just talk about your experiences, that is beautiful. That's amazing. And we need more of that. I think an open dialogue for therapy is beautiful. And I love that a lot of podcasters use like therapy services like BetterHelp to talk about therapy options out there, because therapy and cognitive behavioral therapy is so important. And you might not even realize how important it is until you try it. And you're like, wow, all of my thoughts that were like doom scrolling thoughts living rent free in my head, fear of holding me back, like imposter syndrome, which is what I was dealing with this last year, they're gone. Like, it's been beautiful, but I would never been able to get there without therapy or without cognitive behavioral therapy to understand where I was struggling and what happened to get there. So make time for yourself. Sleep and making time for yourself in the day, if possible. And maybe that might be right before bed. Maybe you read your book for half an hour before bed, and that helps calm your brain waves down. You're not on your phone, so no blue light. You don't have to respond. You can put your phone on DND. Don't worry about emails or texts if there's an emergency. Unfortunately, we live in a society where people can call, text us all the time. And even though I love to be informed by my friends and family, if I don't get off my phone sometimes, I feel sucked in and like I can't have an escape. And that's not reality, but that's where society has led us with the phones. And so if I can give you any advice, especially if you have ADHD, meditate, get off your phone, and especially before bed. This is out of love. This is tough love, but this is the reality of I screwed myself in the past. So please listen to me. This is real life advice, okay? The next one is the 1-1-1 rule. I don't know if this exists, but I made this up for myself, for my clients who are struggling with the time management thing. If you have ADHD, You might not always feel the same every day. You might not always feel motivated, but if you can try to carve this in throughout your week and your month, it's going to dramatically improve your life. So I gotta say this slowly because I had a speech impediment. I couldn't pronounce my R's very well when I was young, so I do slow down sometimes just to be better with my words. But the 1-1-1 rule, I need a better name for it. 1 hour every day. Do something that brings you joy for an hour. Again, that could be something before bed, something during the day, after lunch. Maybe it is your lunch break, but do something for at least an hour a day that brings you joy. Usually for me, it's working out, but sometimes it's playing the drums, making art, sitting with my coffee, reading my book. I mean, every day is a new adventure. So look at your options. If you have a project that you've been neglecting, like for me, I have art that I've put on, I have John Lennon right here that I've put on hold for like a couple of years. That would be a perfect time for me to go work on my art for an hour, right? And then that's your time. That's your alone time. Unless you want to spend that with other people like kids, or if you have to because you're taking care of kids. But I would also say if you can do something during their nap time or playtime, that way you don't feel like you can't be yourself and your own identity as a person. You're still a mother, you're still an amazing parent, right? But also you're yourself because you have to be yourself. And I think that that's the gap that a lot of new parents are, experiencing. They forget that they have to take care of themselves, right? So something that brings you joy a day, if possible, and then another hour, this is when you can double dip, but another hour a day, try to have some form of movement or workout. It doesn't have to be going to the gym, could be a home workout, could be cardio, could be yoga, could be like stretching and abs, bike riding, maybe it's going on a walk with the kids. That way you feel like you're not neglecting them and then they're getting exercise as well. Walking the dog. I mean, like there are so many ways that you can get in movement throughout the day. So yeah, we don't have the same 24 hours a day, but there's still hours throughout the day. It can't always be work. You got to have some caveat of fun here, some little gap, right? So if you can't find an hour for movement a day, that's when you got to re-strategize your plan and redo your priorities, as Hermione Granger says. I don't know if you can see it, but I have a Harry Potter mug. I don't think you can see it because it's one of the color changing mugs. So when it's hot, it changes into Hogwarts. And then when it's not, it goes back to black. So it's not as hot anymore. Okay, so my last part of the 1-1-1 rule. Again, this is really hard to say. 1-1-1 rule, like that's really hard to say out loud, is 1 day a month. So we have the 1 hour a day that brings you joy, 1 hour a day for movement, and then 1 day every month. I really thought about this because I think you do need an hour a day for joy, an hour a day for movement. Maybe that's both in 1 hour, that's fine. But at least 1 day every month is by yourself. By yourself. When's the last time you spent a day alone by yourself? Didn't have the spouse around, didn't have the kids or the dog or family or friends, just yourself, right? When's the last time you've done that? When's the last time I've done that? Actually, I did that last week. I'm trying really hard to follow my own advice, which sometimes it can get exceedingly challenging because you do feel guilty, but that's when you got to put on your special thinking cap and say, listen, I have a life too. I have to be happy too. So here's my advice. All right. For the day by yourself every month, it doesn't have to cost money. You can do so many beautiful, wonderful things by yourself for free or less than $20. If you have kids, if you can afford it, have someone watch your kids. Maybe that's your spouse or significant other or your family member, or you can afford a babysitter or figure it out. We have a support system. Always have a community. Always, especially when you have kids. It literally relies on a community. That's what I'm learning from my friends who have kids. So have someone watch your kids or your dog or whatever, and then make a day for yourself. Plan it out. Again, I'm a huge planner. Or even if you're not sure, that's when you say, hey Siri, or hey Alexa, or hey ChatGPT, what should I do today for 6 hours or something, right? And then do stuff that you want to do for you, or maybe stuff that you've neglected. Maybe it's self-care, like getting a massage, getting your hair done, getting your nails done. Maybe it's something new. Maybe you want to learn an instrument or garden or an activity. Maybe you want to go wine tasting with your friends. Maybe it's just something like you want to go to the beach and eat a pub sub and read your favorite book for 5 hours. That's fine. Bring sunscreen. But like self-care, adventuring, organization, shopping, something that you've neglected or something that you've been wanting to do, make it a priority. Like the 15th of every month or the third Friday of every month is, or third Saturday or something is my day. My day every month. Nothing can happen. Boom, right? And again, I'm telling you this because there's been so many times in my past, and again, I have had to learn from my failures and from other people's failures, but that's something that I love to talk about is because we are not perfect. We are only human and we can only keep working when we can. And if our 80% that day is our 80% that day, that means we did the best we could, right? So don't feel selfish for prioritizing yourself. Please don't, especially when you're a new parent. Give yourself more grace than ever in your entire life. You're not failing, you are learning. If you were a failure, that would mean you had given up. And that's the only reason to fail, in my opinion. Have you given up? No? Great, then you're not a failure. Boom, period. Listen, a few weeks ago, it's embarrassing to say, I had to take my dog, or this was like a month ago, I had to take my dog to the vet because she ate my earplugs. Yes, I felt like a failure, but of course I cried. I was like hysterical on the phone, thinking that my dog's gonna need surgery or they're gonna have an intestinal blockage or blah, blah, blah. It was a fail, but guess what? I was intelligent. I had my little, I would say, 2-minute pity party. Then I called the vet and I was like, what's the best thing to do here? Because I have a vet, always have a vet. You need a vet. And she was like, bring her in. We'll see what's going on, blah, blah, blah. They gave her some eye drops. She had to throw up. She had throw up the earplugs, like not even 10 minutes later. Yes, it cost over $100 just for her to throw up, but better than an internal blockage, better than surgery, better than Lord knows what. But I learned a hard lesson that day, which is put your earplugs away, or better yet, I bought the ones that go in your ears that are on a string. So, and always put them away. Puppies are puppies. They discover the world through their mouth and their nose. And I knew that, but we're only human. All right, I'm sharing this embarrassing story because this was completely my fault, but it was a completely learning opportunity and a complete reminder that I'm not perfect. I never try to be perfect, and that I'm not a failure. I am learning. And sometimes it's just the unknown and the unexpected is so scary and frustrating and fear inducing, but that's where we grow the most because we learn more and we appreciate the learning opportunity to be better. So just reminding you of that. Movement's important. Self-care is important. You always have options though if you are not sure where to start when it comes to self-care or working out or just like having someone help you bridge the gaps in your life. That's when I would say hire a coach, a specialist. Investing in your physical or mental health is never a waste of money. It is always important. You need to keep reminding yourself that because life is hard. Life isn't perfect, but you're never alone and people want to support you. Seriously, I am a coach because I love helping people. But more than that, I am a coach because I love to educate people to help themselves. That's the difference. And that's what's taken me 7 years to learn. I'm talking with my hands today a lot, but that was today's podcast. And if you found it really helpful, if you could subscribe to my YouTube channel or follow me on Spotify, if you could share it, that would be so wonderful because I love knowing that people like this kind of stuff and that people are learning and relating because life is hard, but you are not alone. Okay. And I'm so proud of you. I'm so, so proud of you. If you would like to be on this podcast, if you have any ideas, I'm the biggest person as far as a proponent of people coming on, talking to me, having interesting conversations. You can send me a DM on Instagram. My Instagram is just at Powerful Hippie. I'll also include all my links in the show notes or in the description for both YouTube and Spotify. Or you can also send me an email. It's haley.powerfulhippie@gmail.com. And just let me know what you want to discuss. It doesn't have to be all health or fitness related. It could be anything about life or career or growing or overcoming obstacles like being a new mom or parent and learning about the journey. We need to talk about a lot of stuff more, especially in the health space, because mental health, physical health, they're like this. They go hand in hand. They hold each other's hands because we all need both of them to be healthy and happy, right? Again, Thank you so much for listening, for tuning in. If you're watching on the YouTube, I'm so proud of you for taking the first step in whatever your new journey may be. And you are amazing. You are so powerful. Last but not least, I don't want to forget, I have a Redcon 1 supplement discount code. Usually I do that at the beginning of the episode, but I kind of went on a little rant. I love Redcon supplements though. I've been using their products for at least 3 or 4 years, probably longer than that. My favorite product is their MRE Light Whole Foods based protein. I'll include the link below, but I do have a discount code. Powerful Hippie saves you 20% off. So I'm going to include that for you so that you can try all the things as well. We're also on Amazon, but I don't think you have my discount there, unfortunately. So again, thank you for tuning. And I hope that today, more than ever, you take time for yourself. It is not selfish to practice self-care. All right. Bye, guys.